Everyone has a syllabus? Awesome. Nope? Okay, you didn't get one? All right, here it comes. Okay. Is there an extra one down there? Thank you. That's great. And then I'm also handing out postcards, colorful postcards. Everyone got one of these? This is an invitation to our first broadcasting club meeting. And anybody else need one of these? Yeah? Okay, here. Send it down to you. There's a few extras here. Oh my God, we got tons of them. All right, there you go. So the Broadcasting Club is a volunteer organization. You're not obliged to join it. We started it up last year because a lot of students in broadcasting wanted to do a few extra things. So as you can see on the front, we have a radio station right now over in the Arts Extension building in our department. So the Broadcasting Club takes care of the radio station, organizes people with radio shows. It is streaming on the internet. It's not a terrestrial broadcast station. So at our first meeting on Tuesday, September 4th at 12:30, which is actually a class time for us. So those of you who are here then, we will go over to the first meeting over at the Arts Extension. We'll still meet here, but we'll go on over there and you can see all the different things that the Broadcasting Club is involved in. But give it some thought. Have you ever wanted to be a DJ, play music, or have a talk show? You don't have to also fit into a radio format. You may want to do a podcast. So that we're also able to record you and help you edit a podcast type of thing there. Also, the Broadcast Club chooses people to invite to campus. Last year, William got us set up with an amazing visit from a professional sports camera operator who's had just tons of experience, told us all kinds of interesting stories and tips about getting into the industry. So that was great. We also partner with other people, organizations here on campus, like the employment development people. So Aria Zarinkelk, who's a great resource over there, has helped us meet up with people who can come and talk. Arya himself organizes panels of industry experts who come in to talk, and I'm sure it would be, great for members of the BEMA Club to help out on that. And there's a couple of days out of each semester where all the clubs at City College, put on, activity days and talk to people out on the quad about what they're doing. And often the BEMA Club provides music, so you may want an opportunity to live DJ an event like that. So that's typically what we've done, and we're open to all kinds of other suggestions. In fact, we were talking earlier today about how fun it would be if there was some video going on out of the BEMA Club. So again, it's all voluntary. It'll put you in touch not only with people in broadcasting department, but in other departments throughout the City College, people who are active and involved and coming out on campus and doing stuff. So could be really good. So September 4th, 12:30, and as I say, if you're here in class on that day, we'll all go over there anyway just to check it out, okay? So that's what the postcard is all about. One more sales pitch before we jump into what this class is all about. And so some of you folks I've already met through actually teaching this class, but I also teach an introductory audio production class. It's happening at the Mission campus this semester from 9:30 a.m. and it's actually a pretty involved class. We have a lecture and then a lab which lasts until 12:50. So basically, if you have Monday, Wednesday mornings free and you're interested in getting a really solid foundation in audio production, which of course, if you're interested in music, would involve, taking your first steps towards learning about multi-track music production. If you're interested in audio and video, audio for video, then you take your first steps towards doing sound for a video. If you're interested in radio or news or public affairs broadcasting, which some people inevitably are in this class, or podcasting, because that's such a big thing these days, it would give you a really good foundation in how to record and edit audio for doing short radio packages or stuff like that. So I highly recommend that class. If you're interested in knowing more about it or getting an ad code, just talk to me at the end of this class. Already, I had a couple of people from the morning taking ad codes, and there's a couple more people during office hours who have expressed the interest. So, we didn't quite have enough people to really be safe to offer the class on Monday, but today it's looking a lot better. If any of you are interested, let me know. I'll give you an ad code, and you can come check it out tomorrow. And that would certainly, help our class. And I think it's a great complement to this class, because you do a lot of writing here, but you don't actually get to record or produce anything you write. I hope I'm not breaking anyone's heart by saying that, but this is a purely writing-only class. So if you want to take some of the stuff you've written and actually record and produce it, the audio production class is a great possibility. Or maybe getting involved with the BIMA Club and creating a podcast of your own, or doing a talk radio show, something like that, would allow you to actually record what you write here, which would be really nice, I think. So that's an important thing to note. It's a writing class, and all we do is write. Okay. So, however, there are many other outlets for producing stuff if you want. So let me know if you're interested in the audio class. All right, enough promotion. So maybe just more about this class in general, and then I'll take roll. And so let's talk first of all about the cameras, the lights, the release form, and all of that, okay? So to continue on with this notion that what's special about this classroom is that it's a TV studio, and that these lectures are live streamed and they're recorded for your, you can look at them archived later on, usually a day or two after the recording is done, they're up. So that's really great. What that means is there are only a few days out of the semester that you actually have to be here, because we are doing particular activities where your presence is required. Otherwise, you can consume the class, the lectures and stuff, by streaming them. So this can be good news for some folks who live far away or it's difficult to get in, all right? So those dates when you actually have to be here are on page 2 of your syllabus. So first off, August 21st or 23rd, that's today, because this is not an online class, so I actually have to see you at least once in person to know that this is a go and that you're not a no-show and that I don't drop you. So coming in today or Thursday was absolutely required. Thank you all for being here. On September 20th is another mandatory date, and on that date we will be discussing in class your ideas for stories that you would like to report on, items of community interest that you would like to write about, okay? And I'll talk more about that, but that's one of our assignments. And so that's our first chance to hear what it is you're interested in, what you want to write about, what you're going to report on. On October 2nd, we're going to have you reading out an assignment, the radio feature assignment. So I'll talk more about the assignments later. But that's another instance where we get together and we hear all the work that everyone's done and we have constructive critique about it. And then towards the end of class, we talk about, what's the next thing we're going to work on. So it's great to get everyone together for that. And October 23rd, display and read out your 2-column TV script. So you will also write a TV script, which will have a column for audio, a column for video, and we'll be taking a look at those up here on the screen, and you'll be reading out. Not everyone has a chance to go, but through the semester, everyone will have a chance to talk off, present at least one of their things. And then November 27th, similar thing. We're going to be doing a group kind of campaign for a public service announcement or a commercial. And so on the 27th, the groups come and just, display their scripts and talk about what their thinking was in terms of crafting these very short 1-minute commercial or public service announcement messages. And then finally, we get together for the final exam. So those are the mandatory dates. December 20th is for our final exam. So those are the days you actually have to be in class. Otherwise, it's really up to you as to whether you want to, watch the lectures by streaming or be in class and do it face to face. And you don't have to do, you don't have to commit to one or the other. You can, come in sometimes when it works for you and stream when it doesn't work for you. And typically, some people like to be in class all the time. It helps them, focus, and they can ask questions if anything is, difficult to understand or whatever. If you're consuming the class at a distance by streaming, every class going forward, I open up a chat session, so you'll see that little chat option here. And when you open up the chat, you'll appear up there. Please say hi so that we know that you're there. And the best way that this works is if we deputize someone in the class who kind of monitors the chat stream and just lets us know, somebody just said something, there's a question up in chat, and so that we can bring that in at the same time. Okay? So this is sort of the best we can do for interactivity if you're streaming the class rather than actually here. And, but of course, if you like to interact and discuss and talk, then being here is a better option. So I can't guarantee that this works all the time. Sometimes the infrastructure might not work for us. So in the worst case scenario where the stream doesn't work and somehow we haven't archived the lecture, you are always going to have all the stuff that I talk about in the modules of our of this course. So for instance, on week number 1, we'll be using these PowerPoints. We'll be maybe showing a couple of videos out of this list on this page. Maybe we'll do one of these activities, that kind of thing. So worst comes to worst, and you can't see anything streaming. You can follow along by reading the chapter, looking at the PowerPoints, and looking at all that stuff. So that's all up there to help you. Okay, and this again it's your choice. This is an option that is offered to you, but if you want to just take this class and be here all the time and not worry at all about streaming, that's fine too. It's up to you. And you probably are wondering, well, where do I find this amazing thing? If you're on our homepage, there's a link here that says streaming information. So if you click there, you will get to this page, and it says to watch the live stream, visit this page. And so here it is. And for instance, right now, our class is being streamed, so you'll see it in progress. You click, and you can start to stream and watch it. And then if you're looking for a class that's already happened, same link, right? Streaming information. And go down here, which is the EATV YouTube page, and you will find there our class mixed up with other classes and stuff, but you'll see, for instance, there's one. I'm usually red in the face, but not pink. But here it is. So you'd go be looking for those things to see the show archived. The Writing for Electronic Media show. It's a very limited audience, but that's okay. Targeting, niching is very important in today's media. All right, so any questions about how that works? Good. Well, I hope you take advantage of the stream when you need it. So let's talk about what's in the class. So I did warn you all that there's actually no production. It's all writing. but I encourage you to take production classes if you want to put some of this writing into into a video or audio form. And there's also the broadcasting club, which is interesting if you don't want to take another class. So those are places where you could produce some of what we write here. And sometimes people are already taking, a studio or field video class, and they'll actually do what they're writing here as part of one of those classes. That's happened before, and it's great. Can't guarantee it though, so we don't put it in the syllabus. But keep your eyes open for possible collaborations. So, course description. Well, first about me. I've been teaching here since 2008. I've been in the Bay Area since 2002 when I came here to do postgraduate at Berkeley. I first got a job at San Francisco State University teaching in their broadcasting department. And I still teach there a couple of media criticism classes at night. I'm full-time here. I teach audio production, digital media skills online, this writing class, the intro to electronic media, which happens in the morning, 9:30 till 10:45, and it's plenty of room in there if you're ever interested in doing a kind of a theory and practice of the media industry type class. And I teach performance in the spring, and over the summer I teach audio, video for the web, and the digital media portfolio class. So a bunch of different things, a lot of different things actually. And this comes out of 10 years of experience in television production, and then my PhD that I did on media theory and criticism stuff. So that's me. And I hope that we'll get a chance to know you and some of your interests. And typically what's fun about writing classes is, you bring what you're passionate about because you write about it. So we do find out, what you're interested in, what you're up to. There's plenty of seats down in the back if you want. And here's a syllabus. All right. So the content of the class, finishing up on me. I have an office in the Arts Extension building, which is where our BEMA department is. That's across the street, and walking a block away from Ocean, you'll get to the ArtX building. I'm there from 11 till 12 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can email me to set up another time to talk. That'd be fine. You got my email address there. And so those are all the particulars about me. About the course, basic introductory course in writing for electronic media. Emphasis on preparing scripts in proper formats, including fundamental technical, conceptual, and stylistic issues related to writing fiction, a little bit, and nonfiction, a lot. Scripts for informational and entertainment purposes in electronic media. Includes a writing evaluation component, massive. Mostly what we do is write and evaluate what we write, as a significant part of the course requirement. So that's, the official word on this. And the way that I turned it into a class is this. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to ask you to come up with 2 story ideas that you could report on. It's kind of an A and a B. And eventually, we'll ask you to pick one of those story ideas. And so it could be something like, I don't know, my church is doing a fund drive to support a particular charity. My basketball team is, just won a championship or something like that, and I want to profile the coach and some players. It could be, this part of City College is crumbling and we need to have it fixed up. It could be, about working conditions in San Francisco. It could be about many things, something that you're interested in, something that is ongoing and happening now where you can report on it, which means you can gather information about it from people and from sources other than people, like other newspapers or websites or, official literature that they might hand out. So something that you have access to, which means it's not happening in another country or something, even though it seems interesting, you want to be able to be close to it. You already have a connection, maybe that'll make it easier than, cold calling and trying to find out right from the start. Something with people that you can contact and talk to and interview regarding this, okay? It doesn't have to be something that would make the front page of the Chronicle. That's not what we're talking about. It could be something of a very local interest. You know, only your neighborhood would care about, you know, this restaurant and its violations of the health codes, or, you know, or something like that. That's okay. So I asked for 2, an A and a B, because sometimes your good idea, your best idea falls through and you'll need something else. So I'm not saying that you're going to need to do both of those stories, but I'm going to ask you to, you know, come up with those 2 story ideas. And that is when we meet up on September 18th, that's what we're all going to discuss. And you turn those in a little early so that I have a chance to look at them. But, you know, we always have really great discussions about that, because that's when we find out all of the things that are going on around us and all of the things that you guys are interested in. And often people in the class will say, oh, hey, you could talk to this person, or did you read the article in, you know, this newspaper last week or something. So there's a lot of, you know, interactive help going on that way, which is really fun. So you come up with those 2 story ideas, and then I ask you to write a version of your story for radio, and then a few weeks later adapt that and write a version of the story for television or video. And then a couple weeks later, adapt that and write a version for the web. So basically, you're taking one of your story ideas and exploring how it is to write it up in different media, the main media for electronic media and broadcasting. So for audio only, let's say radio or podcast, for television, or it could be streaming video as well. And then for the web, which tends to combine all of these things, text, audio, and video, and images and stuff all together. So that is, you know, that's sort of the spine of the course. As we work our way through the next 2-3 months, that's what we're going to be doing. Figuring out what you want to report on, getting an interview, at least one going on that, gathering that information, and then writing a radio version, and then going back, finding another source, writing a video version, and then kind of combining all that together and doing a web presentation of it. Now, you don't need audio production skills or video production skills or web coding skills. All of this, you are basically providing the written content for this, okay? So the skills that you will be developing are going to be, you know, a lot of critical thinking skills. Like, how do I tell this story? Who do I need to talk to? What is it about this story that's going to be of interest to my audience? How do I write this for audio only, for hearing it? And how should I change it? What images should come into? You know, what are important images that I can ask a camera person to get to tell this story for television? And how would all of this work together with the interactivity of the web? So what kinds of resources do I want to make available as hyperlinks to click in the story? What kinds of extras can I add in now that on the web I've got unlimited space, you know, versus in broadcasting you've always got a minute or 2 minutes or maybe 3.5 if you're lucky, you know. And then on web video, it's like YouTube says after 5 minutes most people are tuning out. But on a website, it's just, hey, as much as they want, they choose. So these are the kinds of skills that you'll be getting, and writing it a little differently each time, you know, because you're writing for somebody who's talking usually, and then you go on the web, and that's people are reading that. So it's a different style of writing required for that. So you'll write in a number of different styles. And in different formats. So radio has a particular way that scripts are written, and television does too, and the web, of course, has its different options for layout and stuff. So, you'll be learning a little bit about those formats as well. Okay, so that, like, you know, that in a large, you know, and then weirdly enough, after Thanksgiving, we kind of do a 360 degree or no 180 degree turn into fiction, and we do a little bit of screenplay format writing. So if you ever wanted to write a little epilogue or a webisode using characters of your own creation or characters on a show which already exists or whatever. We spend about 3 weeks at the end of the semester just looking at how those types of entertainment fictional scripts are written. So it's a little bit of a pivot by the end, but of course people may be fed up with reporting on their stories by then. So the other thing is you can change stories midstream if you want. You could go from your A to your B story if you're fed up with your A story, or if you just want to change, you can. So it's pretty flexible on that. So as you can see on page 3, there's a whole lot of small assignments. On the 11th, we'll do a couple of radio type stories that are adapted from print news. That's really useful not just to learn about how radio story is constructed, but also to think about how different it is, presenting information in a newspaper versus saying it on the air, where people can't reread it if they don't understand it, where they can't stop and look at some incredibly long name for some organization, or count up the number of zeros that are on that number, of like million, is it a million, is it a billion, that makes a difference. So when you transfer that into spoken language for radio, there's some thought and work that goes into that. So that's a fun assignment. And then the next one after is your 2 story ideas. And then the next one after, a week later, I ask you, so who are you going to interview and what questions are you going to ask of this person, as you follow up and report on the story idea that you had. And then you write that into a radio feature script, and then there's the midterm, and then we get into video, and we do a couple of different video things. One of those assignments, I provide you with facts and video and ask you to write a script based on what I give you. But the larger, the TV package, that's your reporting. You would take what you did for your radio feature and you adapt it and add imagery and change it for television. And then there's the web package, so you make it all for the web. And then there's, the commercial breaks into 2. There's the concept, which is an important part, where you basically, create a proposal of what it is you want to do to sell that to your client. And then you execute. You assume they say yes, and you write a script based on your proposal for the second leg of it. And then the final thing is that screenplay assignment. So a whole bunch of relatively short writing assignments with some reporting early on in the class where you have to find out information and facts about your chosen story. And then you can add to those later as well if you want. The idea is it kind of snowballs as you go along. So that's the way we execute on the promise of the class, which is to do the basic introductory writing for different types of electronic media using different formats and stuff. Do you have any questions about that? Anyone done any reporting already? We have some journalism students? Yeah? Fantastic. What's your name? Fran? Okay. Did you do some over here at City College?
Yeah, I'm in the journalism program.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Love the Guardsman. I mean, I read it all the time. Are you involved in the editorial?
I'm on the Guardsman, actually.
Fantastic.
I'm the online manager.
Great.
Not manager, online editor.
Terrific.
For the website.
So you'll have a handle on all kinds of stories that maybe some of our classmates might want to follow up on or something. That's great. Yeah, because there's a ton of things happening here at City College. And you guys, I always learn something that I didn't know about the college just reading the Guardsman. So that's great. Has anybody else done any journalism before? Creative writing, maybe? Is that your thing? William's nodding. That's great. For videos, William, or for
Just recreation.
Just recreational writing. Cool.
Not
Italian?
in English, but in Spain.
Not in English. Okay. Yeah.
For radio and TV as well.
Yeah. Cool. I should bring that up as well. If English isn't your first language, although
Yeah.
it could be in your case. I mean, you know, I know that provides some extra challenges to people, and so I always, you know, honor that extra work that goes into, you know, writing something that sounds really good. It's, you know, it's that extra bit of work. So you know, I'm sensitive to that to start with, and I just want to say that one thing that works in our favor is that most of our writing is conversational. It's not meant to be super detailed and intricately structured using, you know, a highly complex, jargon-ridden vocabulary. Even the way I'm talking now is the wrong way to talk for broadcasting, right? Broadcasting has typically short sentences with simple structures and a lot of rounding off of details, so that people listening with hopefully all their attention, but realistically maybe somewhat less than all their attention, can understand and grasp what it is we're saying. So maybe this class is, writing is always difficult. You know, writing conversationally is difficult, but it's a different type of thing than writing a term paper where you're trying to write, you know, precise with all the details and an argument. You're really telling stories in broadcast writing, and you're trying to tell them in a very conversational way. So take heart. You may find yourself challenged for sure, but challenged to make things sound simple and natural and easy to understand instead of you know, super detailed, which we tend to do in other classes. Well, there you go. Good. What else should we talk about? Well, we have a textbook. Chow, may I brandish your textbook because I forgot to bring my own. So, Dynamics of Media Writing, Adapt and Connect by Vincent F. Filak. And it's a general writing book that, you know, there are chapters on writing for broadcast, and so they're a little not quite what we need, so I add in stuff as we go in our online course. So there's, you know, sort of additional resources that this book doesn't cover, but the book covers very well the basics of reporting, of interviewing, the parts of any type of news story, the lead, you know, being the most important. And in, you know, what we'll be doing is looking at the basics and then just providing more basics for broadcasting, I guess. So it's a decent book. I think there's a copy on reserve in the library, maybe two. You can also rent it. You can get a Kindle version as well. That's another option. I hear many people tell me about Chegg as a place to rent the book. It's quite readable. Sometimes it seems a little simple, but I think that's a good thing, I guess. There's a lot of good stuff in the textbook. There's a second required reading, which is free. It's a download from a website. It's called A Crash Course in Screenwriting. So as I said, in the last couple of weeks, we turn around and we all of a sudden become screenwriters. And so this has a lot of the basic formatting information and character development and plotting type of ideas. And it's there for free. So I know that there are other great books out there on screenwriting, many of them, but since it's a small part of our class, and we've already had you lay out some money for the main textbook, I think this is quite adequate as a reading for what we need it. So there's a link to that in the course, and you can download it when we need it. Okay. So the attendance policy, given that you're only required to be here on, you know, August 21st or 23rd, September 20th, October 2nd, October 23rd, November 27th, December 20th, Otherwise, you're free to attend class or stream the lectures. So I sometimes feel a little bit anxious that I haven't seen someone or heard anything from them in a few weeks. And because not everyone's coming to class all the time, then I'm kind of like, oh, is this person participating or whatever? So please do make yourself visible in chat when you are, live streaming the class. Do turn stuff in on time. As you can see, there's a lot of relatively small assignments. So it's like, almost every week or at least every couple of weeks you're turning something in. So keep bringing in the work so that I know that you're actually doing it and you're involved, and chat if you're not in class. If that isn't happening, give me some sign of life that you're following along in the class, okay? Because part of my responsibility is to keep you on board and make sure that you get through the class and do well. On the other hand, this gives you a lot of flexibility to not be here, so we have to deal with that. So be visible, get the work in on time, and we'll all be happy about that. So then I'm looking at the grading policy on page 2. So CCSF requires me to keep records of class attendance, but attendance does not directly affect your grade. Your grade is determined by writing assignments and quizzes that are turned in via Canvas, which is our learning management software. If you're not doing well in the class, I may suggest that you start coming back to class face to face to get you back on track. So a couple of things just about keeping in touch and remaining visible. And then on page 3, just a warning that many people, San Francisco residents, are taking advantage of the free city offer to pay your tuition for your classes. But not everyone knows that if you drop the classes that you're taking after a particular date, you will actually be on the hook for the student fees. So free city only pays if you're a San Francisco resident and full-time and whatever other conditions they have. But they only pay if you stay in the class and complete. If you drop sometime after September 1st, you actually have to pay the tuition. So if you're wondering whether you want to stay or something, make your decision before September 1st so that you won't be liable. Just a warning there, because I hadn't heard about that before I was told about it, and I should tell you. Okay. All righty. There's also information here regarding accommodations. So here at City College, we have the DSPS, which is one of the many services that we have here. This one tries to help students with needs that, such as having a quiet place to take an exam, getting some extra time to do their exam, accommodations of where they sit in the classroom. If they concentrate better, we can reserve a seat if they concentrate better up front. Emergency procedures, evacuation, or somebody has an allergy, we need to know about, giving them an injection or something, and so on and so forth. So all of those are designed to help you do as well as you can in the class, and the DSPS organizes that and consults with you and then gives me an official directive that I follow to help you out. So let me know after class or by email or whatever that you are thinking of pursuing that, and then we can get you in touch with the DSPS, and the phone numbers are down there. So the first thing to do would be just to call them and make an appointment to come in for an evaluation, and then they'll work with you about what's possible. And so there's that. Your student fees also give you access to Student Health Center. So counseling, sort of first line medical stuff or whatever. It's actually just a little bit further on Phelan than our Art X building. So across the street, go away from Ocean, and you'll soon be at the health services. And there's a range of other stuff that I invite you to explore, and you can find that on our website under Student Services. They're all sort of reaching out down there. Financially, scholarships. Great. And you can always talk to me, and I can give you my ideas about what kinds of services could help. Plagiarism. So there's a lot of writing in this class. A lot of it is very specific, and you'll be pursuing your own stories. So I'd be really disappointed to see that you had, kind of copy-pasted somebody else's work and presented it as your own. That would definitely be plagiarism. So, the consequence of that is, you get a 0 for the assignment because you didn't actually do any work. You just copied it from somewhere else. The best way to avoid it, of course, is to, write your own work. And it's pretty easy to do that because you're working on stories that you have some connection with and some interest in, and they're local, and so on and so forth. So many reasons why I've never seen, once and not here, have I seen a case of plagiarism in a basic writing class that I was teaching, but generally not. So steer clear of that. And typically in term papers, you can run into issues of plagiarism by quoting a little too much of something else and not attributing the source. And interestingly enough, in writing for broadcast, you also have to be careful about attribution. We'll talk about maybe the different reasons why it's important to identify a source, but be sure to identify the sources of whatever information you're using to avoid, accusations of plagiarism. I did have a student named Lisa who took this class, 4 or 5 years ago, and she was an experienced journalist with a journalism degree from San Francisco State, and she had been working at a blog that covers energy issues in the state of California, which was really not her beat, so she didn't know much about it. And she was being asked to produce 5 short blog posts a day. That was her job. So like 25 posts a week, which is a lot, especially if you don't live and breathe energy policy to start with, right? And so she was leaning a lot on other sources, and things were going okay. And then her immediate editor, the person who was supposed to be looking at what she does before it was published, quit, and a new editor came in and actually did their job and looked at what she was doing and said, this is plagiarism. This is, you're using other people's stories, you're repackaging them on the web. And it was intensely traumatic for her because they left the stories up and they put a disclaimer underneath saying, these stories were plagiarized and we do not, support this, and they left her byline on. So it was really a professionally traumatic experience for her. And she basically fell into it, under the pressures of working in this, at the time, new medium, of online journalism, which is very demanding. Tons and tons of content has to go, and not a lot of time to produce it. So it's kind of like a war story from the trenches about plagiarism and especially online. There's a lot of gray area about what works, what doesn't work, and I think you want to stay as careful as you can about attributing your sources of information, to head those problems off. Cool. Anyhow, that's her story. Is anybody looking to work in journalism or media?
Media. Yeah.
Media?
Yeah.
Okay. Only 4 people. What are you all doing here instead? Well, we have, I mean, there's good reasons for being in the class regarding, I just wanted to show you sort of where some of these classes fit within our many offerings of where the heck are we? Degrees and certificates, thank you. Yeah, so our broadcasting department has a number of different certificates, and some of our classes also qualify for the AST degree in film, television, and electronic media. So you may or may not know about the AST degree, but what it does is it outlines a program of study where all of the courses are guaranteed transferable to a Cal State CSU university. And so you can do a lot of your lower division electives here or at any other community college for very little money, and then you can apply those to your 4-year degree at a CSU, which is fantastic. So many of our students are, for instance, doing this type of class for that reason. We have the foundation certificate. So our department participates in that degree program, but we also have a lot of different certificates that we give out, which are basically attesting to professional qualifications. And one thing that's really great while studying at community college is to be able to get one of these certificates, or many of you will qualify for a bunch of them with relatively few additional courses to this Foundations in Broadcast and Electronic Media Arts. And so, our foundation is a certificate in itself, and then most of the courses in the foundation apply to other certificates as well. So here we are. This is, one of the key courses in the foundation certificate. And as I said, you can get this certificate and then build onto other certificates like, sound recording arts. We have a live sound certificate, sound design, sound recording, or a video production. We've got television production, and then sort of more post-production, video editing, and motion graphics. So for some of those certificates, the writing course is not a part. And then we have the multimedia broadcast journalism and convergent media production certificates, which this course is also a part of those. So, whether you get one certificate or multiple certificates, and as I say, if you do the foundations, the other certificates are usually only 2 or 3 more courses away out of your, before you can get them. It's really good to, come out of a year of study with something completed, because that's what they look for on your resume. And then and writing, I think, is always useful, regardless of the business that you start working in. It's going to help you. Present yourself, present your company or whatever needs to be done in where you're working. And a lot of people, again, writing is hard work, and so a lot of people don't want to take the time to do it. And so a lot of entry level, I do remember myself, getting internships and working in places, and you get a surprising amount of writing to do. So because other people don't want to do it because it's hard work. It's more fun to be on the phone and make a deal or something than it is to confront the blank page. But that means that you can add you can make your contribution there. Okay, so it's the afternoon, and I've already had these kinds of talks already. I'm sure you're a little tired of it too. Outcomes. We should look at the student learning outcomes. So this is our promise of what you hope, what we hope you can do when you are finished with the course. So outcome number 1, analyze advertisements and public service announcements from different electronic media into their various elements and style. So when we do those group kind of ad campaigns or PSA campaigns, we'll start off looking at different examples. I mean, I think a lot of the way we learn and become, you know, more flexible creators, because I think flexibility is really important in today's media. You never really know where you're going to fit in or what you're going to do. But you know, by looking at examples, by looking at what's being done, and trying your best to, you know, reproduce that and then, you know, use that format for yourself. I think that's the way we progress largely. And a course like this can help you start, and then you just continue on. You know, we don't promise that at the end of the class you'll walk out and get a job as a copywriter in an ad agency or as a reporter in a television station, but this is a start, and you'll continue to develop afterwards. Outcome 2, describe the technical and aesthetic issues related to writing for the electronic media. So, you know, this would cover things like knowing how to write in the format which is generally accepted for, you know, television news or for radio features or for, you know, fiction scripts, stuff like that. Aesthetic issues cover, you know, how to make your copy really clear and understandable. Things like that. Outcome 3, illustrate through writing of stories and gathering of information from a wide range of resources, various writing techniques based on the unique nature of each media outlet. So again, in the way that I teach this course, we do, you know, we report out a story, but we report it for the radio media outlet, we report it for the television media outlet, we report it for the web media outlet, and of course those are very general kinds of categories, but you know, you can take that and then, you know, specify it. If you get a job working on a blog for a company, you can, you know, take what you learned about putting your stuff up on the web, and you can go from there. If you get a job, you know, for AJ Plus, the Al Jazeera web app, you know, you can take what you learned about scripting for a television news show, and, you know, guaranteed they use the same formats, they talk the same terminology. It's just their stories are contributed by people who live all over the world, you know. So you're going to adapt what you take away for sure, but it's a good basis. Outcome 4, write clearly and concisely in a variety of formats, including the radio script, 2-column video script, and web formats. Clarity, and you know, by doing the same story, but adapting it, it gives you a chance also to, you know, say, ooh, I'm looking at that phrase, I wrote that for the radio script, it really sucks. Let me fix it this time. So, of course, good writing is rewriting, but by doing it the way we do it in this class, it's another motivation to clean up your writing as you go along, make it better, more concise. Outcome 5, apply the fundamental principles of persuasive, promotional, and narrative fiction screenwriting. So, you know, that mostly refers to the PSA commercial assignment. It could, you know, open the door to sort of more public relations writing. And honestly, a lot of people who are trained in journalism and this type of writing find work in public relations, which is sort of, you know, providing information, but on behalf of a company or a client, instead of, you know, what journalism typically is, which is providing information in the public interest. You know, so there's a very big distinction there, but many of the skills are identical. So, however, we don't do any public relations. There is a chapter in the textbook about it if you're interested. We don't read it, but it's there. So those are our learning outcomes. And I think you can see that the course pretty well tracks with what we promised we'll be doing. Okay? So questions now, please. I've talked so much. No one's going to feel like saying or asking or doing anything. But
Can't think of any story ideas.
Chow saying you can't think of any story ideas. Okay. Well, we got a few weeks. Are you Is anyone else concerned about can't think of story ideas? I would be. I have been. We'll talk a little bit about where ideas, come from. Like a lot of journalists keep their ears open all the time, but I see a couple of hands up. Yeah.
It's just gonna be something like we can go talk to someone, right, and like interview them and ask some questions.
I would hope that we're going to talk about news values, which refers to why the heck would anybody be interested in what I write, and there are some a list of criteria or stuff, and I'll invite you to compare your ideas against those news values, but again, people are often intimidated because it's like, hey, my story idea wouldn't make the front page of the Chronicle, and it's not about President Trump, but that doesn't matter. So we're looking at very local stories, but nonetheless have some kind of audience that would be interested in them. So it may be a friend who's just had a gallery opening or something like that. It may be somebody you don't know, but you've always found interesting their work, and as a student, you can reach out to them and find out more. But we'll talk more about finding stories, Chow. Yeah.
So local, use San Francisco or Bay Area?
Bay Area, whatever's local to you.
Okay.
If you happen to live here, that's cool. If you live out of San Francisco, that's cool too. But it's Bay Area, yeah.
Okay.
All I care about is that it's something that's accessible to you. I made an exception a while back for a story that was really fascinating and worked really well. And this was a story, the student was interested in the exploding student debt problem in the United States, where it's like their students now they owe more money than consumer debt. So believe it or not, student loans are bigger than all the credit card loans that are out there, which is sick, obscene, and it is ruining people's chances to start their lives. And I think, okay, I'll stop there. Somebody should do something about this. And she was very concerned about this. And what was interesting was how she managed to localize that huge issue, right? Because this is often what we're trying to do, to make it a story out of a topic. So a topic is exploding student debt. A story is, here's somebody who's affected by this. And of course, you could find many people who are struggling to pay their student loans off, and watch out, folks. I mean, that's why I think you're in a good place here. We're giving education and we're not putting you in debt for the rest of your lives. Use those AST degrees. Okay, now, so this student came from a small town in Michigan where an anonymous donor, we don't know who, no one knows who, gave a huge pile of money. And it's a scholarship. Anybody who gets good grades in high school has their 4-year university degree paid for by this scholarship. Incredible opportunity, right? So basically it means if you live in this community, you get free university. And her old high school music teacher, her daughter, had just got this scholarship. And so she conducted an interview by Facebook with her old teacher and stuff. And I thought, okay, is that local? It's not really local, but it's local to her. She knows who's involved. And it has that important aspect of kind of localizing a huge story. She found somebody who's really affected in a very positive way, and also kind of used that to open out onto the issue, well, how come it's just one small town? In a lot of other countries, Canada included, where I did my studies, education is practically free, regardless of like what level. Some class, in Germany, I believe it still is completely free. So why is it that we're looking at, $40,000, $50,000 to get a basic 4-year degree? That's where she arrived at, but through a very interesting local kind of human story, and she reported it through Facebook, so that's fine. If your reporting leads you that way, that's fine too. But on the other hand, I don't want people to feel like I don't know what to write about because I don't know anybody who's involved in such incredible, huge things. But small things often link to huge things. And even if they don't, small things have small audiences. And nowadays, you may find yourself writing for a neighborhood blog or, being active on Nextdoor or, writing for the student publication or something. All of which are, they have varying degrees, but pretty small audiences. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So think about, things that have intrigued you. Like I think the first steps, and again, we'll talk more about it, but the first steps are, are kind of like, you just find yourself wondering, like, how does that happen? Why is this happening? Who could I talk to find out about that? And you're on your way. You've got a story. But where you'll be frustrated is if, I've got to talk about, the rising incidence of identity theft. Oh, well, okay. But you're on your way if you can find someone who's had their identity stolen and you can, work through that. So you have to localize. I guess that's it. And see what you've come up with, and we'll talk more about it because that's not due for a few weeks. Alex?
Oh, I don't know if it's anyone else, but I still can't see the class.
Can anyone else, is anyone else having trouble? I know, Natalia, you told me, hey, it's not visible.
Now I can see it.
Now it's visible.
Yeah, if I was going to all courses and then it was
okay.
there.
Yeah, I still can't. I've been on it. I've been on Canvas this whole class time and I still can't.
Has anybody else, can folks go on Canvas and see if you can see the class? It's published.
Yeah.
Leave student views, so it is published. I don't know, Alex, maybe you have to clear your.
No, I've done it a bunch of times.
You cleared as well. Odd. Maybe I should take
your class.
Yeah. Well, that's reminding me. I should take roll before we all leave, right? It would be terrible for me not to take
Go
roll.
to see all the
Pardon me?
A different browser.
Different browser. Okay. Thanks, Jody.
No, now I see it, but yeah, that's.
Okay. I flipped the switch, I think, yesterday or something. Whatever I emailed.
It's just not on my dashboard like all my other classes.
Well, I had this weird thing yesterday where in Chrome it was like doing a light show, like everything was just blinking, which it's never done. But then I opened it up in Firefox and it was perfect. So I don't know. So I'm glad to know that this is published, but it wasn't for a while, and frankly, that's because I was doing a whole bunch of really minor updates, but it involves like moving everything by 3 days and changing weeks and stuff. It was just ridiculous. And I see some of my colleagues and it's like their syllabus is this photocopy that's being re-photocopied like for the last 10 years. So it's kind of all the lines, the writing is all wavy and stuff. And then it's like, I should do that. Okay, let's see who's here. Okay, so this means that from here on in, I know you're in the class, so you're free to stream if you want, or come in, of course. I'm going to work on learning people's names as, so I'll probably be calling roll sometimes, but I also just pass around a sheet where you sign your name up on it. But I do, just try to get to know everybody's name and stuff. Yeah, Ronnie?
Stream Thursday now, or?
Yeah, this one is being streamed, and Thursday is streamed too. So as long as you were here today, you don't have to come on
It's
Thursday.
set on the 23rd, right?
It said the 21st or the 23rd. As long as I see you once, I know you're in the class. Yeah, that's kind of a legality as well as courtesy. Thanks everybody. So we'll see you next class, and we'll actually start talking about writing.